Who is the best MLB player to get 0 Hall of Fame votes? In about a month, at the time of originally posting this, the results of the next Baseball Hall of Fame vote will be announced. It's a process that gives writers the chance to formally decide which players are the best of the best in baseball history. I went through all of the ballots of years past and picked out 10 of the best players who got 0 votes. We're not talking guys who just aren't in the Hall of Fame. We're not just talking about guys who fell off the ballot after 1 year. These are all guys who somehow didn't pick up 1 vote at all. They were on the ballot, writers had a chance to support them, but somehow decided not to. I'm not saying any of these players are totally unjustifiable misses, but I do think some of them warranted consideration, and all of them were good enough to get 1 single vote. To be clear, this is not going to include players who never got a chance to be on the ballot. It also doesn't count guys who are currently still doing their thing in the league.
Kershaw is Altuve's daddy.
It's guys who somehow got kicked off the ballot by receiving 0 support whatsoever while they were on it. We'll spend some time giving each of these 10 a fair overview, giving them the praise the writers failed to do. But while I have your attention... Hey, it's me up in the corner here. If you like this video, please consider dropping a like and subscribing to the channel for more content like this. Promise you, it really does go a long way, and truly does mean a lot. There's a reason why all the YouTubers usually bring it up in the beginning of videos, so thank you for that. There are 2 statistics that are going to be used a lot in this that I might as well explain right off the bat. WAR, which stands for wins above replacement, quantifies how many more games a player's team would win with that player instead of a replacement level player who plays the same position. And JAWS balances a player's career WAR with the WAR of their 7 best seasons. It's used a lot as an attempt to rank players all-time in individual positions. Alright, with that out of the way, time for the big boys to get a chance to shine. We're going to go through these guys in ascending order of career WAR, using Baseball References calculation here, just so there's some kind of natural escalation here too. Greg Vaughn finished 4th in NL MVP voting 2 seasons in a row. He hit 355 career home runs, with 95 of them coming in 1998 and 99. 3 times he topped 115 runs batted in a season. He was a 4-time All-Star across 3 different teams. He is 16th all-time in left fielder home runs. He just could not play the field very well, and it cost him. Although his career WAR is about the same as Hall of Famer Chick Hafey, even I couldn't tell you anything about Chick Hafey. I did find a couple guys with higher WAR totals than Vaughn that I did not include in these 10 players. I don't believe WAR should be a definitive ranking by any means, but his bat was strong for a long time, and he's definitely a worthy inclusion on this list for a shout out. Carl Crawford was the very first homegrown superstar in Tampa Bay Rays/Devil Rays history. He led the American League in stolen bases and triples 4 times each, while batting .290 for his career. In 2006 and 2010, he was graded as having the best power-speed combo in the American League. He stole bases at an 81.5% clip for his career, carries a lot of statistical comparisons in his career to Hall of Famers Roberto Clemente and Lou Brock, and is currently the 43rd best left fielder ever by JAWS. Today, he now owns a record label and has been in a very long, very public fight with Megan Thee Stallion. Yeah, that Megan Thee Stallion. Jake Peavy twice led the National League in strikeouts as the ace of the San Diego Padres. In 2007, he unanimously won a Cy Young Award. In the mid-2000s, he was easily one of the very best right-handed pitchers in baseball. He was also good defensively, picking up a Gold Glove in 2012. I know this because he used his actual Gold Glove award as a glove throwing for the Savannah Bananas this past year. PEAVY also had some longevity to him too. Alright, if I could just get the words out, I'll finish this thought here. A game I actually attended in 2014. PEAVY, at age 33, took a perfect game into the 7th inning against the Mets. He would lose this game to no stud pitcher in particular.
Damn, we're gonna win this thing.
It's also a fun little memory of mine that during the SRS trip to spring training in 2020, we overheard a big league player say, "God bless Jake Peavy, man. Whatever happened to that guy?" I won't tell you who that big leaguer is. No context is more fun there. Andy Van Slyke, like Greg Vaughn, also has 2 different 4th place finishes in NL MVP award voting. But unlike Greg Vaughn, He was a 4-time Gold Glover. He's led the NL in hits, doubles, and triples before in his career, and from 1987 to 93, he was 29% better than the average hitter around him if you go by OPS+. Pretty much just a stat that takes your on-base percentage plus your slugging percentage and normalizes it to the stadiums you play in and the league environment. He had 3 seasons of 5.5 WAR or higher, and is the 47th best center fielder of all time by JAWS. Might not sound like much, but for a position like center field, that speaks volumes. Also, Andy Van Slyke's son was the winner of the epic stare-down and Battle of Wills in the 2013 NLCS.
Greg Gibson, the home plate umpire, motioning to both players.
Sam McDowell is the most underrated strikeout artist of all time. Strikeouts were not tolerated at the plate in the 1960s like they are today. Back then, if you were a hitter who struck out a lot, there was a good chance your team wouldn't even bother playing you. Picture that environment and envision a guy with similar strikeout rates to what you see today. His 1965 strikeout rate across 273 innings was higher than Aaron Nola's this past season. Aaron Nola's good enough at striking guys out that he once punched out 10 hitters in a row. I watched that live in an airport bathroom in Chicago. Yeah. Sam McDowell once kept up a strikeout rate of about 1 per inning across a 305-inning season. He was even named Pitcher of the Year by the Sporting News in 1970. Only 7 retired pitchers who were mostly starters have a higher career strikeout rate than Sam. When he retired, it was only 2. What gives? What gives is that he also walked a ton of guys and only had 141 wins, which writers in his generation hated. But his 7-year peak WAR is higher than both CC Sabathia's and Jacob deGrom's. 3 times he led his league in fielding independent pitching, which is basically ERA for the 3 true outcomes a pitcher can usually control: strikeouts, walks, and home runs. 6 times he led his league in strikeout rate, twice each in hits allowed rate and home runs allowed rate, and in 1993 he picked up a World Series ring with the Toronto Blue Jays as an addiction counselor, a role he moved into after overcoming addiction himself. Great baseball career and baseball life. Seriously an underrated presence in the game. Ken Singleton is generally considered a great dude. Yankee fans loved him as an announcer for them, which is rare for an ex-player announcer who never played for the team. But for 3 other teams, he was an awesome hitter. He finished his career 32% better than the average hitter around him, a rate higher than Ricky Henderson, Nelson Cruz, Sammy Sosa, Robinson Cano, Jose Altuve, and Jose Bautista. He finished 3rd or better in MVP voting twice, actually grabbing 2nd place in 1979. His defect was that Sports Illustrated literally called him slow. The words, "Unfortunately, he was granted the speed of a turtle," appear in this article. So if you thought Greg Vaughn had a defense problem, wait till Ken Singleton walks in. He grades out as the 46th best right fielder ever by JAWS, also coming in at 42nd in 7-year peak, and 32nd in offensive WAR. Even so, a guy with more career walks than strikeouts that also hit 246 home runs should have gotten more consideration than 0. Amos Otis was the solid Kansas City Royals center fielder for 14 seasons. A 5-time All-Star there, he broke 35 doubles twice while also winning 3 Gold Glove awards. He twice finished 4th or better in AL MVP award voting, and is the 43rd best center fielder of all time by JAWS. He and Juan Pierre are the only 2 center fielders ever to have over 2,000 hits and 0 Hall of Fame votes. Not counting this guy, Willie Davis, who played 18 years with over 2,000 hits and 60 career WAR, and doesn't appear to have ever gotten on the ballot. A higher WAR than anyone who's on this list, actually, and he never even sniffed the ballot. Which, what are we doing there? Wanted to sneak in his credit there too while I had a chance. But as much as it pains me to say for someone who loves Juan Pierre, I understand how he didn't get much consideration. Amos, different story. Devon White has the 5th highest defensive WAR for center fielders ever. Man, a lot of center fielders on this list. You want to know something crazy too? His offensive WAR is higher than Greg Vaughn's as well, who, mind you, had so much pop he hit 95 home runs in 2 seasons. White, in his prime, was obviously a spectacular defender, but also a bat who could give you 30 to 40 stolen bases, push 40 doubles, and rack up a home run total in the high teens every year. His first full season even saw him hit 24 home runs. He also turned it up in the postseason too. He's a career .296 hitter in the playoffs and over 200 plate appearances. A 3-time World Series champ who dominated center field defense stats in the 90s. Also, the closest to him by similarity score in his career, Amos Otis. 5th best defensive center fielder of all time though by WAR. But just one of the top 10 are in the Hall of Fame. Andrew Jones is working on making that too. The Astros have a total of 9 retired numbers throughout their ever-growing history. One of them is their late great center fielder Jimmy WYNN. WYNN had a 10-year stretch where he was 36% better than the average hitter around him. Because of this, he carried a fantastic nickname with him throughout his career, the Toy Cannon. That's what happens when you're listed at 5'10" and 160 pounds while also dropping nukes. One year, he finished second to Hank Aaron in home runs in the National League, and Hank Aaron said the Toy Cannon deserved to win it over him. That was, in part, because he played at a venue that once killed grass from the sky, and it was a lot tougher to hit home runs there. He has 291 career homers, 6 times walked more than he struck out in a season, and had 3 seasons of 7 WAR or better. His WAR is higher than several Hall of Fame center fielders. His career OPS plus and WAR per season are higher than Carlos Beltran's, who will more than likely get in eventually.
You're allowed to wear hats in baseball. Like,
Yeah,
it's basketball, you're a little exposed, but put a helmet on.
He is ranked as the 17th best center fielder of all time and the 15th by offensive WAR. No center fielder hit better than him that got no support. No position player, other than Willie Davis, can really even hold a candle to him in terms of inexplicably not getting one writer to say he was a Hall of Famer. I'm not saying he should have gotten in. He might have had the best case of anyone on this list, actually. But the fact that he showed up as a choice to vote for and no one budged is truly unbelievable. And finally, Frank Tanana was a good big league pitcher at age 19 and also at age 37. You might remember him from being unhittable early in MLB The Show 21's life cycle, but you might not know just how successful a career he actually had for himself. He has 240 career wins. I don't know how that didn't get him a single vote. Stats he led the American League in during his career included strikeouts, ERA, shutouts, strikeout to walk ratio, ERA+, WHIP, and fielding independent pitching. He posted over 7 WAR every year from 1975 to 77, with 8 or more generally being considered good enough to land you an MVP consideration. He finished 4th or better in Cy Young voting twice. He logged over 2,700 strikeouts and threw almost 4,200 big league innings. His name also rhymes with banana. How he escaped the minds of voters is beyond me. He had the same career WAR as Hall of Famer Whitey Ford, and virtually the same 7-year peak WAR as Hall of Famer John Smoltz. John Smoltz didn't quite understand the Correa time celebration though, so who really won?
Says, look what time it is, I guess.
A good comp for Frank Tanana in his career is Jamie Moyer. Both were lefties who lasted for over 20 seasons and won a lot of games in their careers. Tanana did it with a higher WAR, a better WHIP, and a better ERA. Moyer got 10 votes. Tanana got 0. Well, that felt nice, giving these guys their well-deserved props for their excellent careers. More than the Baseball Writers Association can say. Just to be clear, maybe these guys fell short of actually being Hall of Famers, but to not garner an ounce of support is extremely disappointing, and I'm proud to put them up on a pedestal even decades after their careers ended. But I do want to end this story by talking about someone who did get a few Hall of Fame votes. Meet Ted Simmons. He was a catcher across 21 different MLB seasons. He was a solid hitting, solid fielding catcher who was one of the steadiest players of the 1970s. In his first time on the Hall of Fame ballot, he had so little support that he didn't meet the threshold to stick around on the ballot for a second time. Over 27 years later, thanks to a Hall of Fame committee, he was formally inducted into the Hall of Fame. Point being, better late than never. And while some of these guys might never have gotten the support at first, their time to be recognized in one way or another could still be waiting. Maybe me giving them some flowers counts towards that in some way, maybe it doesn't. but the sun could rise back up on their hopes to earn praise of some kind, and that's all that really matters.